welcome back to DMG. Today I'm going to be doing some testing with fans. I'm seeking to answer a question that I've seen a lot of people ask, and at first glance it actually does make a little sense. And the question in question is, can I stack PC fans on top of each other? I've seen a lot of people asking, well, not a lot of people, but still more than you would imagine. I've seen at least one person asking, I've got a really airflow restricted case, but my CPU is overheating. So can I just do this? Just put the fans on top of each other. And it's actually a reasonable question, but let me just explain why it wouldn't work. Your second fan is blocking most of your airflow from the first fan. And because there's a first fan in the way, the second fan wouldn't be able to get as much airflow. So my theory is that it's going to be less effective than just one fan. But I can't make that decision. I can't say that verdict until I've actually tested it. I've got a pretty typical configuration. A lot of cases come like this. I have two front fans, intake, no rear exhaust fan, and the CPU fan. They're all spinning at the exact same RPM. I'm using a passive GPU to hopefully minimize any, extra air that would be blowing out. And yeah, let's get right into it. First, we need to establish a baseline. Max temp over 20 minutes of CPU rendering, that's 100% load, with just the cooler and these fans. Really quickly, I just want to say, we are about 7 minutes into the render. I've covered the top of the computer with a cloth, and I've taken out the intake and exhaust fans in the top that I usually have there. So that's restricting our airflow to hopefully mimic a more airflow restricted case, because that's the point of these tests. Already our highest core temp has been 73 degrees, which is about 10 degrees higher than I usually see with all of the fans in this computer, just for a bit of comparison. I should also say it's about 10 minutes into the test now. We are using a 135 watt CPU, 8 cores, 16 threads, 135 watts. It's an LGA 2011 chip, so it's very large. So the heat is spread out across a pretty big area. Bigger than most modern CPUs, but it's still, reasonable for the test. Looks like our highest draw of power so far has been 128.5 watts. So we are reaching close to the full potential of this chip. And about 3 minutes later, our max temp is now 75. So it's definitely heating up. It's definitely starting to saturate that heatsink. But without any proper exhaust fans, it can't really do anything. There's nowhere for the hot air to go, so it just kind of stays in the case. We're approaching the end of our 20-minute render. Again, this is a 8K all-thread render. I don't expect it to finish. That's not the point of the test. I just want to put a lot of load on the CPU, and this is Cinema 4D, so it uses the same engine as Cinebench. Now, going over here to our temperatures, in this very professional way of moving my camera, we can see our max core temp over here is still 75 degrees, and going down the list, core 0 is in the low 60s. The highest core currently is core 5, which is at 75 degrees. So yeah, it looks like mainly mid-60s to low 70s. I would assume one of these cores just didn't get as much thermal paste. I did use Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut for this CPU, so that's pretty much the best thermal paste you can get. And we are going to hit the 20-minute mark in a few seconds, so I will shut the system down and plug in another fan right now. Wow, that heatsink is extremely hot. That's very hot to the touch. Just like, I can't keep my finger on it for more than a few seconds. Reminder to never change fans when your computer is plugged in. There's a risk of shorting out your motherboard Always turn your computer off before messing with fans. But yeah, I'm just gonna add an exhaust fan here in the back, just one little exhaust fan. Again, same RPM as all of the other fans, but hopefully this added fan will help a bit with thermals because it will help expel the hot air away from the heatsink. So we'll see just how much this improves. Alright, we're almost 20 minutes into our test, and I want to say I'm very impressed with just adding that fan. We can see here, our max temp is down 5 degrees Celsius, down to 70 from 75, and our core temps, our highest of all of them, is 70 degrees. The rest are in the 60s. Some in the low 60s, a couple in the mid 60s, but that 70 is actually an outlier. None of them are really that high. So just checking out the current core temps, we can see that there is a pretty significant decrease. So just adding that fan in the back did make a difference. Okay, now let's add another fan. Alright, because this is a very good YouTube channel and we do things professionally, I'm going to secure it with tape, because that is how it should be done. I'm going to need to work on that actually. Luckily, we have more tools used by professional PC builders, such as zip ties. It's moving air. I'll give it that. And we've posted. Alright, so let's test this heatsink with another fan added to the back. Something started to go wrong, as you can probably hear. I'll have to figure out what's going wrong. I wasn't paying attention and I let it go a little beyond 20 minutes. But check out our temps. They are very good. Our max is 67, which is 3 degrees cooler than without this fan that we added, and that's 8 degrees cooler than without any exhaust fans. And our core temps, this one's in the mid 50s. Instead of low 60s, we're now seeing mid 50s for core temps. But that one core that's a little hotter than all of the rest is, looks like our hottest core is 65. Now I did have to fix it because it was rattling a bit. It's no longer flat aligned with the CPU. It's now kind of like sticking out a bit, you might be able to see. So I definitely wouldn't recommend doing this with tape, but you know, if you secure it in a better way, it's definitely effective. Now, let's see if adding another fan here improves performance. Using zip ties, we're going to add another fan right here. And I'm just going to, using twist ties, I'm just going to secure it here. Sorry, not zip ties, I said the wrong thing. Okay, so we've strapped another fan in front of the CPU cooler fan. I honestly don't know if this is going to work at all. I wouldn't be surprised if it raises our temps a little bit. Let's remember our lowest, highest temp so far. That's a bit of a confusing sentence. But I guess our best case scenario is we're beating 67 degrees Celsius as the hottest core. Let's go. These are all Antec fans. They are, I think the model number is F12 maybe. They're 120 millimeters. They're really cheap in 5-pack, and they are pretty quiet. They move a decent amount of air. I really do like these fans. Okay, we're a little over 20 minutes in, and it actually worked. Why did it actually work? Our max temp, well, it was 64 when I started recording, but now it's gone up to 65. Wow. That's amazing. Again, most of our cores, this one's just 50 degrees. They're in the low 50s. Some of our cores are actually hotter than they were without this fan, but some of them are cooler, and the overall temperature is like 2 or so degrees cooler. So it's really strange. I don't know if this is actually working or not, but I'm gonna say that it is marginally improving. The amount of air coming out the back feels like there's a little bit more air. But I mean, I can't imagine that this would work too well in the long run, and I definitely wouldn't recommend this for long-term use, just because of, you know, how weird of a solution this is. But I'm amazed that it worked like this. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I am going to now dismantle my cursed fans here, although it is kind of interesting. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. If you like the content that I'm making, do consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot, and see you next time.